Daniel Martinez had always been terrible with languages. Even after 6 months aboard the Harmony, humanity's first diplomatic vessel, his universal translator still glitched at the worst possible moments. Today was no exception. The Zephyrian delegation had arrived that morning, their crystalline ship docking with the Harmony in a ballet of precision engineering that made Daniel's engineering heart skip a beat. But it wasn't the ship that caught his attention. It was her. Liana Veltar stood 7 feet tall, her translucent blue skin shifting with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to dance with her emotions. Her forearms moved with graceful coordination as she spoke to Captain Rodriguez, and her large opalescent eyes held an intelligence that made Daniel forget to breathe. "Gorgeous," he whispered under his breath, watching the light patterns ripple across her shoulders. The word came out in perfect Zephyrian. Every head in the docking bay turned toward him. The Zephyrian delegation fell silent. Captain Rodriguez looked like she wanted to crawl into the nearest airlock, but Daniel only had eyes for Liana, whose skin had suddenly erupted in brilliant pink and gold swirls. She was blushing. "Say it again, human," Liana said in accented standard, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Daniel's face burned crimson. I didn't mean to." "You spoke in High Zephyrian," interrupted Ambassador Kethavar, Liana's father and leader of their delegation. His own patterns had shifted to deep purples and blacks, colors Daniel's briefing materials had warned meant displeasure. That word carries significant cultural weight. "Sir, I apologize." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "Ensign Martinez is still learning." "I meant it," Daniel said suddenly, surprising everyone, including himself. "I mean, I know I don't understand all the cultural implications, but I meant what I said." The docking bay fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Liana's patterns shifted through a spectrum of colors Daniel had never seen in the cultural briefings. Ambassador Kethavar's 4 eyes fixed on Daniel with laser intensity. "Do you understand what you have just declared, young human?" "I called your daughter beautiful," Daniel replied, his engineering brain finally catching up with his mouth. "And judging by everyone's reactions, I'm guessing that means something more significant in your culture than it does in mine." "In High Zephyrian, gorgeous implies seeing beauty in someone's inner light," Liana spoke softly, her patterns now a gentle cascade of silver and white. "It suggests recognition of spiritual resonance. It is, how do you say, not spoken lightly." Daniel felt his heart hammer against his ribs. 3 years of xenobiology training, 2 years in the diplomatic corps, and 6 months of cultural briefings, and he'd managed to accidentally make what sounded like a spiritual declaration to an alien princess. "I still meant it," he said quietly. The silence stretched until Captain Rodriguez cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion in a more private setting." "No," Liana interrupted, stepping closer to Daniel. Even with the height difference, her presence seemed to envelop him. "I wish to hear more from this human who sees inner light." Over the following days, Daniel found himself assigned as Liana's cultural liaison, a diplomatic way of saying, the human who started this mess should finish it. They spent hours walking the Harmony's observation decks, sharing stories of their worlds. Daniel learned that Zephyrians communicated as much through their bioluminescent patterns as through words. Liana's lights danced with excitement when he explained human engineering concepts, shifted to warm golds when he shared stories of Earth, and settled into peaceful blues during their quiet moments together. "Your people are remarkable," Liana said one evening as they watched Earth's moon through the viewport. "You have no natural light patterns, no telepathic abilities, no extended lifespans, yet you reach for the stars anyway." "Stubbornness is one of our better qualities," Daniel replied with a grin. "Is that why you keep insisting I'm gorgeous, even after learning the cultural implications?" Daniel turned to study her profile against the starlight. "Actually, learning what it means in your culture just makes it more true. I've never met anyone whose inner light literally shines through their skin. But even without that, Liana, You're brilliant, kind, curious about everything, and brave enough to befriend the awkward human who can't work his translator properly. Her patterns exploded in cascades of pink and gold. Say it again. You're gorgeous, Liana Veltar. The next morning brought news that would change everything. Long-range sensors had detected a Void Reaper fleet approaching the neutral zone, a species of mechanical beings that consumed organic life for fuel. The Harmony and the Zephyrian vessel were directly in their path. Our shields won't hold against. They're drain weapons, Captain Rodriguez announced grimly, and we can't outrun them. Daniel stared at the tactical display, his engineer's mind racing through impossible calculations. Then inspiration struck, not from his training, but from watching Liana's light patterns for days. What if we don't run? He said suddenly. What if we hide? 20 minutes later, the Harmony and the Zephyrian ship hung motionless in space, their hulls covered in a network of Zephyrian bioluminescent organisms. Daniel had figured out how to reverse engineer their light patterns, creating a camouflage that made both ships appear to be nothing more than cosmic debris. The Void Reaper fleet passed by without slowing. Impossible, Ambassador Kethvar breathed. No other species has ever understood our light speech well enough to replicate it technologically. I had an excellent teacher, Daniel said, glancing at Liana, whose patterns now included new colors he'd never seen. Colors that, according to the ship's xenobiologist, indicated deep affection and bonding. As the two fleets prepared to part ways, Ambassador Kethvar approached Daniel privately. You have given us a great gift, young human. More than protection, you have shown us that understanding between species is possible in ways we never imagined. Your daughter taught me that some things translate perfectly across any language barrier, Daniel replied. Through the viewport, he could see Liana coordinating the disconnection of the bioluminescent network, her four arms moving in precise harmony while her skin told stories of light that he was finally beginning to read. She caught him watching, and her patterns shifted to the now familiar cascade of pink and gold. Even across the vacuum of space, he could hear her voice in his memory. Say it again, human. Daniel smiled and whispered the word that had started it all, knowing that somewhere between a translation error and saving two fleets, he'd found something that needed no universal translator at all. Some things, after all, were gorgeous in any language.